today. It's Cloud Atlas. This film, it's like, whoa, 6 different stories, right?
Yeah.
And they span from like the 1800s all the way to this crazy post-apocalyptic future.
It's ambitious, super ambitious. But here's the thing, they're all connected. They're like riffing on reincarnation and you know how history just seems to keep repeating itself? And that struggle for freedom, yeah, that's everywhere in this film.
So where do we even start with something this big? Like, how do we make sure we're on the same page for this deep dive?
Well, first you got to talk about like how actions have these consequences that, well, they ripple through time, you know, impacting generations down the line.
Right. And then there's that whole thing about freedom. It's like every story's got characters just yearning for it.
Yeah. And finally, we got to face the music, the whole good versus evil debate. You know how Cloud Atlas shows us both sides of humanity? The compassionate Andy, the brutal.
Okay, I'm with you. But how does Cloud Atlas actually pull this off? Like, does it just tell us these things are happening, or is there something, I don't know, deeper?
Deeper, for sure. It's like baked into the storytelling. Think about the cast, for example. Like, the same actors play different characters in each story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're right. I never thought of it like that.
It's a visual reminder, you know, that souls are like reborn and they carry the weight of their past lives, trauma, joy, all the lessons learned. It just gets passed down, you know?
Oh, mind blown. So if like we really are connected across different lifetimes, what does that mean? Like, what are we carrying from those past selves?
Right. It makes you think. Okay, let's get back to the film, though. Think about Adam Ewing, that lawyer from the 1849 storyline. He sees slavery, the awfulness of it, and he chooses to fight against it. It's risky.
Yeah, he's definitely going against the grain there.
Big time. And his actions, they might seem small, but they spark something, like inspire others down the line to keep fighting for justice and equality.
Interesting. Because centuries later, we meet Sanmai 451. She's enslaved, right, in this super advanced future. But she's a clone, a fabricant. Is the film saying that Ewing's fight is directly connected to her rebellion?
Well, it's debatable. Like, it doesn't explicitly say that, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it, about that possibility. Like maybe fighting for freedom, it's like a torch passed down through generations, with every act of courage building on the sacrifices made before.
Okay, yeah, starting to see these seemingly separate stories like threads in the same tapestry makes me think about my own actions, you know, like what impact will they have down the line?
That's what's so cool about Cloud Atlas, right? Makes you consider the ripple effect of your choices. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have so much more to uncover. All these individual stories, how they tackle freedom in such different ways.
Okay, yeah, you've got me hooked.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's dive into those stories and see how they each fit into this big exploration of freedom.
Okay, awesome. Let's start with Robert Frobisher, the young composer from the 1930s. He's like battling the expectations of everyone, his mentor, society, everyone.
Yeah, like a bird in a cage, just wanting to sing his own song.
Exactly. He wants freedom, artistic freedom, personal freedom, even if it means like going against the grain, facing rejection. His story reminds us, though, freedom isn't always about huge revolutions. Sometimes it's just finding your own voice.
Then you've got Louisa Ray, the journalist, 1973, right? She's risking it all to expose this massive conspiracy that's definitely about freedom. Freedom of information, freedom from corruption.
And freedom from fear, too, right? Like, she's got guts. Louisa reminds us that fighting for freedom, it takes a lot of courage.
Yep, she's up against some powerful people, but she won't be silenced.
Right, her story is like this testament to the power of truth and why it's so important to hold those in power accountable, you know.
It's amazing. All these stories, different worlds, but they're all part of this larger conversation about freedom.
The film's structure, it's brilliant, like looking at the same gem but from different angles. Each facet showing you something new about this really complex idea of freedom. And we haven't even touched on the post-apocalyptic future yet, with Zachary and his fight against fear and ignorance.
Can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
But let's back up for a sec. To Sanmai 451, her fight against oppression in that future world, I want to explore how her story connects to this idea that history just keeps repeating itself.
Yeah, okay. So Sanmi's rebellion, it's not just some futuristic plot point. It reflects all these historical struggles for equality. She's inspired by the stories, the actions of those who came before her, like Adam Ewing, Louisa Ray, and others. It's like their struggles echo through time and, well, they fuel her own fight for liberation.
Making me think about how history does seem to repeat itself. Same struggles, just different players, different contexts. The fight for freedom, the struggle against oppression, good versus evil. These themes, they just transcend time and place.
And Cloud Atlas, it doesn't offer a simple answer. Whether we're doomed to repeat these cycles or not, it leaves it open. Makes you think about the possibility of breaking free.
Okay, I'm definitely seeing the film in a new light now. It's not just about these individual stories, but about how they're all connected.
Yeah.
The echoes of the past and the present and, that potential for change in the future.
Exactly. And we're just scratching the surface. We've got so much more to uncover, like how the film uses visual metaphors and symbols.
I'm ready. But for now, let's give our listeners a chance to absorb all this. Join us for the next part of our deep dive. We'll keep exploring the awesome world of Cloud Atlas. Back again for more of the deep dive. Last time, remember, we started peeling back the layers of Cloud Atlas, those echoes across generations, and all the different sides of freedom. Ready to keep going?
Totally. There's so much more to uncover.
Okay, so the visuals, whoa. Each story, it's got this totally unique look.
Yeah. The filmmakers, they nailed it, create all these different worlds, right? It really feel transported. The 1849 Pacific Voyage, so warm, so different from Neo Soul, all sleek and futuristic.
But even with those differences, right, there are these subtle connections between the stories, like colors. They pop up in unexpected places. It's like, threads in a tapestry.
Exactly. They're constantly reminding us these stories, they're not isolated. They're all part of something bigger, this interconnected, web.
Which reminds me, we got to talk about that comet birthmark. Appears on a bunch of the characters, like a secret symbol connecting their souls across time.
Oh, yeah. That birthmark. It makes you think about fate, destiny, our lives kind of set in stone. But the film, it doesn't give you easy answers. The meaning of the birthmark, it changes depending on the character, and the time period.
Yeah, for some, it's this mark of shame,
yeah.
Right? But for others, it's hope. Makes you wonder, how much of who we are is shaped by when and where we're born?
And how much transcends those boundaries. The film plays with that, It's what forces shape us and what choices really define us.
This makes me think about what you said earlier about Cloud Atlas not having this simplistic view of history. Progress, it's not a straight line. And humans, we make the same mistakes.
Over and over, the film, it shows us that. How these patterns of oppression, of violence, they pop up again and again across time. It's a reminder, the fight for justice, for equality, it's a constant battle.
So the film shows us the bad stuff. But does it give us any hope for the future?
I think so. Despite all the darkness, the cycles of violence, Cloud Atlas says, we can choose a different path.
Okay, I like that. But how? Give me some examples.
Well, Sanmai 451, she believes in love and empathy, even when she's facing death. Her message, it's hope, and it travels across time, inspiring others to fight for a better world.
And then in the post-apocalyptic future, even there, Zach Ackery, he's battling his fears and prejudices. It's even in the darkest times, the human spirit, it survives.
He's willing to learn from the past, to find a better way of being. It shows us, right? Hope is powerful. Change is possible.
It's like Cloud Atlas is saying, hey, think about your choices. Even small acts of kindness, of courage, they matter.
Right. They can ripple outward. And not just in your lifetime. They affect future generations, the whole course of history.
Wow. Makes me think about the legacy we all leave behind. What stories will be told about us? How will our actions impact the world?
Those are the questions, right? Cloud Atlas, it challenges us to think about our place in the world and the choices we make, because they have the power to shape the future.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. The cyclical nature of history, hope, individual action. But what about, the deeper stuff, the philosophy behind it all?
Oh, yeah. You're right. Cloud Atlas is more than just sci-fi, right? It's asking these deep questions about existence, morality, the meaning of life, all that good stuff.
I'm ready to go down that rabbit hole.
So let's start with reincarnation. The film, it suggests that our souls, they're reborn throughout time. And they carry all the baggage from past actions and experiences. What do you think about that?
It's mind-blowing. Are our lives pre-programmed? Or can we break free? And if we're connected to all these past and future selves, what does that mean for who we are now?
Big questions. And the film, it doesn't try to answer them definitively. Reincarnation. It's a possibility, a way to think about how we're all connected across time.
Yeah, it's inviting us to question everything.
That's what makes it so cool, right?
Yeah.
Cloud Atlas doesn't hand you answers. It's think for yourself, find your own meaning and all the complexity.
So we've got the visual language, history repeating itself, hope, and now we're getting all philosophical, peeling back the layers of an onion, each layer something new.
And we're still going. We need to tie it all together, explore what the film's really saying about, the interconnectedness of everything.
I'm with you. Let's do it. Let's keep digging into Cloud Atlas and see what else we can find. Okay, so here we are. The final part of our Cloud Atlas deep dive. Over the last 2 parts, we've gone pretty deep, right? I mean, from the visuals to those big themes of freedom and, well, how history seems to love repeating itself.
Yeah, we've talked about how the film connects those seemingly separate stories and, all those big philosophical questions it throws at us, like, what's our place in all of this?
Right. So now, as we wrap things up, I'm curious, what do you think the filmmakers, the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer, what's the message? What are they trying to say about us, about humanity, and the choices we make?
I think they're, cautiously optimistic. About humanity, I mean. The film, it acknowledges all the darkness, how cruel we can be, and how violence just keeps popping up throughout history. But it also shows us, our potential for good, the strength of the human spirit, and how one person's actions, they can make a difference.
So not a simple good versus evil message, then?
Nope, not at all. Cloud Atlas gets that human nature. It's messy. It's both light and dark. And it's our choices that decide which side wins out.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But how does the film, show us that? Give me an example.
Think back to Adam Ewing, the 1849 storyline, right? He helps Autua, the stowaway. He could have just ignored him, but he chooses compassion. And that sets off this chain reaction. It echoes through time.
And those echoes reach Sanmai 451 centuries later. Her fight for freedom, it's built on the actions of those who came before. The ones who stood up, who fought for something better.
Exactly. Cloud Atlas shows us our actions, they have consequences way beyond our own lifetimes. We're all connected. And the choices we make, they can inspire, change history, create a better future.
That's powerful. Especially these days, when things feel so chaotic. It's a good reminder that we're not powerless, that we can make a difference.
And it doesn't have to be something huge. Sometimes it's just those everyday acts of kindness, empathy, the small things.
Right, a smile. Helping someone out, or just speaking up when you see injustice.
Exactly. Cloud Atlas says every choice matters, even the tiny ones. And when we act with love and courage, we create this ripple effect, and that can change the world.
So we've reached the end of our deep dive. What's the one thing, the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
That they have the power to choose a better future. We're not just watching time go by, we're shaping it. And even when things seem dark, there's always hope, always the possibility of change.
Beautiful and empowering. And Cloud Atlas, it just does it so well. It's thought-provoking and visually stunning.
It's a film that sticks with you, makes you think about your choices, your impact, the legacy you'll leave behind.
It definitely will for me, and I hope for our listeners too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep choosing that brighter future.